Man, that changed pretty fast, hasn't it? Welcome to the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Tuesday, live from the Xfinity Lounge, along with Derek Kyle. I'm Devon Bree, the president of basketball operations. Good to see all of you in there. Not kidding at all, because we need to talk through all of this as we have 3 games remaining. They have lost 2 in a row. And man, just a week ago, the conversation was entirely different. We are presented by Bet365, where winning is everything. They need to win these last 3 games to keep themselves in position for a 6th seed and remain in the top 6 without falling and staying. Well, they're currently in there, but staying in the play-in. Something needs to happen fast with this basketball team. Thursday and Friday are back-to-back, both on the road, and then the season finale at home against the Milwaukee Bucks. Things are not as good as they were. Can they get it back? Where are you? How are you feeling about where things are right now? We'll get to so much here a little bit later as we talk about, ironically enough, an Ace Hardware temperature check, the stretch with the final games of the season for the Sixers, and another look around what's going on with the NBA, especially tonight in the games that you need to watch that are directly impacted by your basketball team. So as we get things started here, Kyle, again at 43 and now 37 for this team. It is 43 and 36 for the Sixers. 3-way tie with the Hornets and the Magic. Vibe shifted fast, man. It just like that, we were talking about how, maybe they can jump into the 5th seed if things fall their way. And they can be playing the Cleveland Cavaliers or maybe the Knicks with a 4-5 matchup.
It's still technically in play, but
but
Atlanta's not going 0-3, and they're not going 3-0.
This is where we talk about the vibes. Yeah. The vibes of those conversations were there before that this could happen. Now you're worried about you could still even fall to 10 by the time things are done on Sunday night. So things have changed pretty drastically here over a course of a week.
I think, to me, what was dispiriting about the Spurs game is certainly not losing to the Spurs as like a broader concept, right? Derek laid out the stats during pregame yesterday. Since the start of February, they've been essentially invincible when Victor Wembanyama plays. It's the fact that Victor goes down. You have a golden opportunity in the second half. Joel is pulverizing them, getting to the free throw line in the third quarter, doing the things you need to do when a team is shorthanded like that. And they're healthy. They're whole. They have all these guys available. In Maxey's case, he's a little banged up with the hand, but he's still healthy enough to play. And you just don't have answers. You don't have a way to go and beat a good team. That's with a motivational advantage in terms of what's at stake for them compared to what's at stake for the Spurs in the final week. That's with I would say the high-end talent advantage when you take Wemby out of there. That's not disrespecting the Spurs. It is just like, hey, you have the big stars in this game and you're not able to pull away. It's the structure. It's the fact that they frankly are getting a good version of Joel Embiid, a good version of Paul George right now, that for the vets, the concept of the season, like, hey, they're going to slow roll it. They got to get them healthy by the end of the year, heading into the playoffs. Like, all those things are coming together. And still in this final few weeks of the season, in high stakes games against quality competition, save for that Minnesota win, which was a very good one the other night, they've fallen flat on their face in some big moments recently against Miami. The Detroit game, granted you're down Joel, but it's one thing to lose. It's another to get absolutely smoked the way they did. Mm-hmm. Tobias Harris celebrating and talking trash on your floor about the play-in and getting to crow a little bit after his ridiculous career he had here. And then last night for the Spurs game to fall apart. Like, it's tough not to get sucked into the negativity vortex. And I don't want to be negative. I want to look at how Joel's moving on defense, Paul being able to turn back the clock a little bit physically. And it's hard, man, because the structure, the coaching, the depth, there are a lot of things that I am hugely concerned about coming into these last few games and a potential playoff run. And as much as I would like to sit here and convince myself and try to convince others like, hey, this is a dangerous team. I just don't know if I can get there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's sort of two ways to evaluate this team. Does Tyrese Maxey come back? If yes, I think they can be a dangerous team for any one opponent. It's the ability to put that together for 16 wins or possibly 17 if they slip into the play-in tournament, that it just feels like there's so much that has to go right that it's hard to see a pathway to that. I think they can be dangerous to any individual team, but they just, like, there's so many things that have to go right, and they've done so little. They've shown you highs. They've shown you a week or two that they can reach those highs. They haven't really at any point this season shown you they can extend that over a significant portion of time. And part of that's that your stars don't play regularly. And if you're going to cling to any kind of optimism, it's that Joel looks like in a better place of health than he has all year. Paul looks like he's in a better place of health than he has all year. Hopefully, maybe you avoid the play-in, you get a week off, and Tyrese can get back to health. That's the only pathway towards being able to make a legitimate run. But it would be so much, like, health is a part of it. Lack of familiarity is part of it. But I believe their inconsistency goes beyond that. I believe their inconsistency also goes to the coach. I believe their inconsistency also goes to the role players and the bench and the lack of scoring and the lack of shooting and the lack of decision-making, that they basically need 3 out of 4 stars to be playing at an exceptionally high level to really have a chance. When you have 1 out of 4 stars, like last night with Joel, you have pretty much no chance because you don't have any role players that can elevate their game and take it over. When you have 2 out of 4, you have a chance, but it's a toss-up. When you have 3 out of 4, you're probably going to win. But you need all of them working in perfect harmony any game that you hope to win, and it's tough. It's really, really tough. I wish we had a coach and a scheme that I felt like really elevated and gave you a chance to steal wins that you shouldn't be able to steal. Haven't really seen that all year. I wish you had role players that shown you the capability to get hot in a big moment. And with the exception of, an occasional Kelly game here or there, or Grimes at the start of the season, they just don't have it. So it all comes back down to a collection of 4 stars, 1 of which is a rookie, 2 of which are historically unreliable in the injury front, 1 of which has a current injury that's making him unreliable, and all 4 of which haven't played a significant amount of time together. It would be one thing to overcome some of that, right? A lack of familiarity, because quite frankly, the Maxey Embiid 2-man game is the one that you would love to fall back on, but Maxey looks compromised right now. And it's just, there's so much uncertainty. There's so much that they haven't shown you that they can do consistently that it's, like Kyle, I don't want to be a negative per se. I really try to call balls and strikes as I see them. I certainly think there's still upside in this, and Embiid playing the way he has makes me want to believe in that upside. It's just, they're so inconsistent in so many different ways.
And health, of course, is a big part of that, as you point out, and you always say, can you just get one healthy run? Well, we don't know what right now the compromising part. We think it's the pinky with Tyrese Maxey. And look, after last night's game, a lot of people were saying, all right, are we going to call out Maxey for not performing the way that he should in last night's game? We still don't know. And Kyle, you were right. After we saw some of the post-game press conference, and what he said was, I need to be more aggressive. You called it exactly how he said it. Why wasn't he more aggressive? The moment was there. The spot was there. What was it that prevented him from doing so? He wasn't going to blame it on the finger, and he didn't. He just said he needs to be more aggressive. Now, they have a chance if they win the last 3 where they get to a 46 and 36 record, but it's going to take that's a tough task to beat Houston in Houston while the Lakers are falling and other teams are starting to move up, and the Houston Rockets are one of those teams that can do so. So how are they, again, going to do it? As we mentioned last night, or I said to the guys and all of you, what's the standard? If this is the standard, they don't have a shot. They don't. And when they pulled you in with their long winning streak that they have, or moving to 43 and 34 after the victory over Minnesota on Friday night, where they are 9 games over 500 for the first time all season long, there's a lot of hope there. And the whole goal was to split between Minnesota and Detroit, but it's also how you do it. It's how it looks out there on the floor. And when Joel Embiid doesn't play in the second game against Detroit, things look the way that it did in that game. And then you come out against San Antonio where they were giving you an opportunity. Victor Wembanyama goes out and you falter and fall on your face the way that you did on Monday night. That just zaps you, especially with things so high. Everything is so elevated right now because of how bunched up the Eastern Conference is, as Bree already showed you with the standings of where things are. Everybody with these 3 games, they can either move up to as high as 5 or fall down to 10 in the standings once the postseason gets underway next Tuesday. That's where they could be. It's that simple. And so it's hard to really look at this team, see the up and down nature of where things are, and say, I trust that they can go into even a 1-game playoff right now and defeat whoever that opponent is because of what they've done against those particular teams all season, even though they have the tiebreaker over Charlotte and Orlando behind them, and even a 2-2 matchup with the Toronto Raptors. They were also beaten by those teams. Some of those games were close too, where it could have swung either way. And we already know Miami took the last one that we're still livid about from last Monday, where that just continues to come back and bite them.
A classic late season loss to the Heat, man. All the makings of one we'll think about for a couple more years after this one.
Because again, you lose last night, but you have that Heat win pocketed, then maybe you feel good about, all right, you can lose to Houston. You hope not, but if you lose to Houston, handle your business against Indiana and Milwaukee. But that one game may change a lot of things for where the Sixers are. But just the lack of faith that is there right now. And part of it does go back to the coach and the Andre Drummond piece of it for playing him last night after the guys talked about it from the last San Antonio matchup. The fact that Tyrese Maxey, we don't know what his problem was on Monday night and why he played the way that he did. Was it the defense? Was it the hand that was an issue? What was it there? Where was Quentin Grimes? Where was Kelly Oubre? Where we talk about when you do get into a playoff series, those guys are going to have to also play well in order for you to win 4 games in the 7-game series as an underdog. And last night against a team like the Spurs, you needed them to play much better. They can still help themselves by doing so against the Houston Rockets, but last night was also a big opportunity for them to do so. So the faith for this team, just like that, gone immediately, where there are a handful of you in the chat we know that are still saying, I believe, and that's fine. You should believe in your team. You know, we're not trying to take that away from you, but it's also very hard to try to prove and make somebody believe the same way that you do after looking at where things are. The other teams are on winning streaks right now while you're riding a 2-game losing streak, playing a tough Houston team on Thursday. And while we always say focus on what you can control, unfortunately, they put themselves in a position where they do have to focus on what the others are doing, and they don't have any control of that. And that's where we are right now with 3 games left. Houston, Indiana on the road, back-to-back Thursday, Friday. Joel Embiid is not playing in both of those games, we don't think. And then you have the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday. So tough sledding here for the remainder of the season for this team. And last night's loss certainly doesn't give anybody a lot of faith and comfort that they can do anything to stay in the top 6 or at least, Kyle, stay in the top 8.
So one of the things I was thinking about after last night's game is Nurse's handling of the rotation and how many guys he's playing, right? We talked about after the game, Justin Edwards played like 5.5 minutes, and that was it. And otherwise it was a pretty firm 8 guys. And even Drummond was like, he's not playing a big role in terms of he's bad, and it played a significant role in the game, but not a big role in terms of volume. And I get it. Rotations tend to shrink at this time of year, especially as you get to the playoffs. But you think about teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder. You think about teams like the Spurs, like the Boston Celtics, the Detroit Pistons, who are without Cade Cunningham and are still just rolling along. The thing that a lot of the best teams in the league have figured out over the last few years, Indiana last year is another example, is that you can go 10 deep, even 11 deep on a given night, and that can be your advantage, right? That can be how you go on a big run in the third quarter, make a big comeback in the fourth, save your stars some energy so that when it's winning time, 6 minutes to go in the fourth, that's Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey playing up to their 33rd, 34th, 35th type minute instead of 38, 39, 40, 41, and having a little something to hit teams with as they get down to the end of the game. And you can win, you can get short-term dividends from saying, Tyrese Maxey, you're playing 43 minutes tonight. Joel Embiid, you're going to play 39 minutes and going hard on, we're going to play our stars as many minutes as possible, and that's how we're going to win. And that is the conventional wisdom of the NBA. For a long, long time, it was all about, we have the best possible player on the team and in the game, and that means we're going to win more games, we're going to win more series, and the rest of the guys kind of don't matter as much. I don't think that's the league that we're in anymore, which is not to say that having great players doesn't matter. You look at the Thunder have great depth, but they have Shea. The Spurs have great depth, but they have Wemby, Cade in Detroit, and so on and so forth. You need both, is more what I'm saying. This is not a league anymore where you can play 8 guys and the 8th guy is suspect, right? You need to be able to go deeper. You need the average guy in your rotation to be better. And some of that is roster building. Some of that is also trusting and empowering guys in December, in January, February, so that when you're in this final sprint and you need options to solve the elite teams and elite defenses, you have concepts. You have different groups. You have this is our zone look, right? We're going to go to these 5 guys if a team is sitting in a 2-3. Okay, this team's playing a heavy guard lineup. This is what we have to combat that. And it feels a lot more, in part because of injuries, in part because of the stuff I'm talking about with coaching in the front office, like they're just ad-libbing it on the fly. Like they have to figure this out right now as we're staring down the playoffs or the play-in the next week and a half. That's not a comfortable position. That's not a place that you want to be in with this little time left to sort your stuff out. So do they have the top-end talent to do some damage? Yes. Is that talent and the rest of the roster in the best place to succeed? I think that's a pretty firm no for me.
It's going to be a no for me, dog.
And then you go back to just as you talk about the top-end talent and having the depth where other teams can go 9-10 deep in a playoff series and not have any issue with it, especially you look at Indiana, the run that they made a season ago to the NBA Finals all the way to a Game 7. This goes back to the forget about the offseason. It just goes back to the trade deadline. It's not even necessarily about Jared McCain. It's about, could you have acquired someone else to be a part of that rotation where you feel comfortable having them out there? And look, say what you want about campaign, but even in that game, that's another ball handler to have for 7 minutes out there to give Tyrese Maxey that break if Quentin Grimes doesn't have it, or VJ Edgecombe, somebody with some experience to run the team for about 7 minutes, maybe hit a shot, maybe make a good pass, maybe get a steal, whatever it could be, but someone you can throw out there for a few minutes just to take off and shave off a little of those minutes for Tyrese Maxey. But all the names that we discussed, I think they could have played right now and made a difference in helping this team as far as that 8, 9, 10 goes for Nick Nurse's team.
When you said not to make too big of a deal about campaign, for a second I thought you said Cam Thomas. I'm like, oh, Devon's lost. He's off his rock. This is not the Devon I know.
Well,
campaign.
So, Devon, to add on to that, I think the comment that everybody latched on to was the sold high on Jared McCain thing. To me, the bigger indictment on the organization at the deadline is saying, we don't think anybody is a needle mover that moved at the deadline. And I think it's a pretty small-minded way to look at the trade deadline and the guys who moved, right? Like maybe Ayo Dosunmu was not going to play as many minutes here as he was going to in Minnesota, and so he's not going to have as big of an impact as he would have on that team.
He'd be your 5th best player right now.
He would make your team better. He's a good player who would make your team better. Nick Vucevic, limited player in a lot of ways, right? Like someone who I think is exploitable in a playoff matchup, but he brings something different to Boston's rotation, right? If you get 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of him behind Kata, where he spaces the floor and opens things up for the Jaylen Browns, the Derek Whites, the Jason Tatums of the world, the Peyton Pritchards, right? And he can just go on a quick heater as a scorer.
Good passer.
That was and like you don't have to play him, but you have him as an option. And that was why at least I was forceful about moving McCain and then bringing nobody in, because if you move him and then you're like, hey, you got a starting power forward, you got a real wing, like you turn that into something, I can hear that argument, right? To move him and you remove one of your best shooters on the team, whatever he was doing that's this season so far, He's still a theoretical helpful shooter.
Absolutely.
To take that off the table, and then that's it. Pencils down, hands up. Like, we're not doing anything. I think it's just so insulting to people's intelligence to be like, well, no needle. Well, okay, a star didn't move at the deadline. That doesn't mean you couldn't make your team deeper and better.
You have enough stars.
Right.
You need complementary
You
players.
signed 3 guys
Yes.
to max contracts. You need players who can help them any which way. And that's like no disrespect to campaign, but it's not signing a guy out of playing in Europe to be a end of bench guard. It's getting a top 8, 9 type of guy who can play in different lineups or give you some kind of diversity in looks that you didn't have. That's why that bothered me so much more than the sold high stuff. Like, whatever. We're not going to relitigate the McCain thing.
Yeah.
But I just think when you look at different players around the league, even somebody like Jock Landale's hurt for Atlanta, so maybe a bad example. But Jock Landale was playing well for the Hawks. They got him for basically nothing at the deadline while the Sixers sat on their hands.
Like cash.
For nothing.
Cash.
Yeah. I think we need to probably head on over to a break before we get Kyle going on another rant.
Just
It's
ridiculous.
fine. We know how to squeeze all 3 of those breaks in there within the 60 minutes. But, Derek, you're right. Let's take a break. We come back. We keep this conversation going. We'll get an Ace Hardware temperature check of where people are on a certain aspect of the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll let you know about the games to watch later on tonight. And it's a 9-game day. Let's have some news and notes a little bit later here in the show, right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Tuesday, presented by Bet365. If you're a regular viewer or listener of this show or any PHLY show, we want to hear from you. Take a short survey. Let us know what you love, where we can get better, and you'll have a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card just by tapping the button and hitting the survey. Obviously, if you're a follower of the PHLY Sixers podcast or just the PHLY network in general, then you are someone with great taste and amazing judgment. Head to allphly.com/survey today to get signed up. And if you're watching us, you can scan the QR code right there on the screen. It takes about 3 minutes, and your feedback will help shape what we do around here. Don't you wish the Sixers front office was open to this kind of feedback? I do too. Everyone that completes the survey will be entered to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Let your voice be heard. Take the survey today. Scan the QR code on the screen or head to allphly.com/survey. That's allphly.com/survey.
And guys, next up, we want to tell you about Monarch. Tax season is funny because it's one of the only times all year that people actually look at their full financial picture. See what you made, see what you spent, see what you saved, and sometimes you go, wait a minute, everything isn't quite adding up. That's why I've been using Monarch. It helps you see exactly where your money's going, or something like a tax refund can actually make the biggest impact, whether that's paying down debt or building up your savings. Simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, from budgeting, accounts and investments, net worth, and future planning, together in one dashboard on your phone or your laptop. Feel aware and in control of your finances this tax season and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code PHLY. Monarch helps you stay proactive, and with their AI insights, you can spot trends and patterns that you might miss. Achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes money management simple. Use code PHLY at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarch.com with code PHLY.
Back here on the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Tuesday, everybody. Well, we got to tell you about Wednesday and some football with Fran's film session. That is tomorrow, April 8th, 6 to 8, Next In Line Comedy, where there's a meet and greet with Connor Barwin. You can also meet Fran and some of the others from PHLY Network that will be there. Make sure you get your tickets. Go to allphly.com so you can get Fran's film session as he kind of, breaks down some film, look at some things for the Birds. There's a lot of talk right now. The draft is later on this month. And you want to make sure that you are in there with Fran and Connor Barwin and some others from the PHLY Network that'll be there tomorrow, 6 to 8, Next In Line Comedy. Get your tickets right now, allphly.com. It's always fantastic to watch Fran break down stuff where even during the year when he posts them or on the show, on the pregame show, on the postgame show, during the week, And then when he posts them on Twitter, I'm sitting there, put my glasses on, and I'm like,
that's how you know it's serious.
It's serious. What do you mean? Where is that when there's a Texas route here that turned into something else? Fran has it all, so you want to make sure you check him out 6 to 8 tomorrow, Next in Line Comedy. Kind of borrowing special guests with Fran for the film session. All right, let's get to a little bit more of this one. So, Derek, I mean, when we get ready because we're off on Wednesday, everybody, want everybody know we're off tomorrow. We're back on Thursday, 7:30 pregame for Sixers Rockets. I mean, we look at that one and we'll have our pregame show, but even now, that's the one that we all locked in on. You look at the other two and say, you should win those. You should.
You better win those.
You better win those. But if you could steal one, last night you said maybe they could take one last night, and it did present itself for that for a while, but we didn't know Maxey wasn't going to be Maxey last night, and we certainly didn't expect Victor Wembanyama to leave the game because of the injury that he sustained during that one. But looking at that one, man, I mean, on Wednesday, that's a huge, huge game to see if they can maybe swing things a little bit to get their fan base back on their side and give them something to look forward to.
Yeah. No, and look, we had mentioned earlier, but getting Tyrese a week off, getting him a week to get that pinky healed is huge. You don't want to have to play one game, and certainly not two playing games just to qualify and go right in. Like, I think there's always at this time of year some debate over whether, do you want that layoff or do you want to go in, sort of like at the top of your game in rhythm, having played games. For the most part, I always try to avoid single elimination games when possible, but some people will make that case. With this team, I think it's pretty clear. You want, especially Maxey, to get some time where he can have that pinky get healed. And if you really want to give yourself a good chance to do that, Wednesday becomes almost a must-win. Or not Wednesday, Thursday, I apologize.
Yeah.
It becomes almost a must-win.
Well, we're having a days of the week issue.
I started it. It's my fault.
Today's Tuesday, right? Tuesday.
Yes, it is.
No, but I mean, like, you have to take care of business, and you said it. Pacers, Bucks, you better win. When your ESPN's dropping articles about how dysfunctional the Bucks are, if you lose that game to end the season, talk about a vibe shift. We will not be in a good place. But even with that said, you're currently in a 3-team tie for the 7th seed. You need pretty much to win out. Rockets are going to be a tough test. This is not a team that necessarily cleans up the defensive glass well. This is not a team that plays good transition defense. It's not a team that has a ton of athletic options on the wings. That will be, even though Houston's a flawed team, that will be a really, really tough test. But yeah, it's a pretty much a must win if you want to get that week off.
Wow.
And Houston, by the way, has won 6 games in a row. Granted, most of those teams are actively tanking and not very good, but they smacked the Knicks around at home. I believe that was last Tuesday, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise are taking care of business against the teams that they should. So a team who we worried about, hey, is that season on the brink? It's looking good for the draft pick, all that kind of stuff. The burner accounts, they've stabilized a little bit, so they're coming in with stuff to play for, right? Like the Western Conference playoff standings right now, with the Lakers looking like they're just kaput with Luka and Reeves out right now. Everything is there for the taking in those middle seeds. Whether that means teams are going to really go for it or just throw the towel in and hope that they can play the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs, I'm not sure. But this is a huge game for the Sixers. I think it's a pretty big game for Houston as well. But I refuse to take the Pacers and the Bucks wins for granted because we've seen what they've done in some of these games this year. And it only takes one bad quarter to start a game, one bad half. All of a sudden, a team with nothing to play for feels good about themselves. The players who are out there are not going out there intentionally losing. They're being set up with the way the roster and the franchise is handling it, but whoever is out there is going to give the Sixers the best of what they got. So if they win if they win Thursday, now I'm having the days of the week problem. If they win on Thursday,
it's going to be great when one of us shows up here at 6:30 tomorrow.
I feel a heck of a lot better about their ability to potentially avoid the play-in, but I don't feel good about their chances in Houston, not after the game they had in San Antonio.
Kyle's a great point too about the players. Whatever the organization is doing, the players are not on those particular teams because some of these players are playing for their future. Of nothing is certain. Certainly, there are ones that are going to be free agents and they're going to land on their feet somewhere else. But when you look at, let's say, the Indiana Pacers, and you have Jackson, who's playing really well at the point guard position right now, or we talk about Potter on their team, and even Jay Huff, who we talked about last year. I think he was signed a 1-year deal with the Indiana Pacers. So there are guys who are still playing for things there with these other teams. In Milwaukee, you look at what's going on there, and who knows what's going to happen there. So they want to make sure they put their best foot forward no matter what.
Adam Silver is going to force Giannis to play on Sunday.
Yes,
I can see it coming.
You know it. That's the only way for it to go. And we always come back to it's about the Sixers. But what are they leaving you to believe when we can't sit here and say, yeah, they're going to beat the Pacers and the Bucks to close out the regular season? They have given us not much to hang on to have so much faith in them that they can just simply walk on the floor and beat the teams that they are better than and not do it. They just don't give us much to go off of.
Yeah. Now, to their credit, for the most part, they have taken care of business.
They've beaten a lot of bad teams.
Their problem comes from the fact that they are 18-32 against teams with a 500 or better record, which is the lowest among any of the 10 potential playoff/play-in postseason teams in the Eastern Conference. Now, a lot of that comes down to when are your stars healthy, when are you choosing to play them on back-to-backs, yada, yada, yada. But for the most part, they have done pretty well, 25-4 against teams below 500, actually, which kind of stuns me. I would have thought that would have been...
They are the ultimate bum slayers, yes. Is what we would call that.
But they are capable of laying an egg almost whenever. And when you're sitting here, and it really is looking at the schedule and or the standings, and you're like, man, it seems like there's 20 teams with 43 or more wins. Well, that's because there's 7 or 8 teams that are tanking egregiously, which is why Adam Silver can't shut up about it, and you get a lot of easy free wins because of it. That being said, and Devon's brought this up a lot, like, Indy's not just rolling over. They're not talented. They're not good enough. They're not necessarily rolling over. And the Bucks, I mean, they're a mess. You can't lose that game.
No, who knows? But real fast with the Rockets, to your point, they are 1 game behind the Lakers, who have lost their last 2 without Luka Doncic.
And the Lakers
Austin
also
Reeves.
just ruled LeBron James out for their game against OKC. So they might just be accepting their fate at this point. They can risk no injury to LeBron, and they're just going to lose out the rest of the way. We'll see what happens.
Houston plays Phoenix tonight. So they could jump into a tie with the Lakers if the Lakers lose to the Thunder and they beat the Phoenix Suns on the road tonight. So not one that we necessarily watch, but keep an eye on it because that is the next opponent for the Sixers. And the Phoenix Suns are 3 games back of the Minnesota Timberwolves for the 6th seed in the Western Conference. So just a little house cleaning right there. Let everybody know what's going on with the Western Conference and the Houston Rockets because of not only the next opponent, but also because of that draft pick that Kyle brought up a little bit earlier. All right, we're going to take our next pause here on the show. When we come back, we'll get to the Ace Hardware temperature check. Stay tuned for that one. Don't go anywhere, everybody. We got a little temp check here tonight that we need to talk about, this afternoon that we need to talk about. It's Kyle and Derek and Devon and Bree, and we thank all of you for hanging out with us. Hit the like button. Where's the phone finger? I know it's somewhere around here. Hit the like button. Like and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. You saw a little bit earlier, we talked about the survey. Like and subscribe. Tell a friend and tell another friend. Let everybody know that we are here. We appreciate the interaction as always while we continue to build the PHLY network so you know exactly where to go for all of your sports conversation in the area. And you no longer live here. You're wherever you are in the country, in the world, and you just want to check in on your teams right here on the PHLY network. When we come back, the Ace Hardware temperature check presented by Ace Hardware Home Services.
All right, everybody, let's talk about a game changer at Rita's because the Gelati Sundae has officially arrived, and this thing is delicious. You don't need to settle for just one flavor when you can have everything. With the Rita's Gelati Sundae, you're getting layers of their classic Italian ice, that rich, creamy, frozen custard that you love, and then topping it all off with whatever you're in the mood for. Full customization, mix, match, build your own masterpiece. Every cup is different. Every combo hits. You can see how beautiful and delicious it looks in the corner of the screen there, and I'm telling you, once you try it, you're not going back to just one flavor ever again. So if you've been looking for an excuse to hit Rita's, this is it. Stop by your local Rita's today. Build the Gelati Sundae however you want it. And don't forget, download the Rita's app Find your nearest location, order ahead. When you sign up, you get a free small ice and rewards all season long. The bottom line is, make this the sweetest season yet with Rita's ice, custard, and happiness. Be cool. Go to Rita's. Guys, we've all been there before. You have that moment. Summertime's coming up. You're traveling all over the place. You left your favorite sunglasses at the beach somewhere. Maybe you stopped at a gas station, get a little food, put a little gas in the car. You left them on the roof of your car, and those sunglasses go flying. I've been there. I've traveled all over the world. Not every sunglass pair has come back with me. That's why Shady Rays changed the game for me, because these sunglasses are made for real life. They're seriously good looking, polarized, durable. They're also not stupidly expensive. And here's the wild part. If you lose them or you break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So when I'm in Egypt, Australia, Spain, the Maldives, all the places over the world that I've been, I know I can actually wear my Shady Rays without fear, no matter where it is. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. ShadyRays.com. Use the code PHLYSR for 40% off of 2+ pairs of polarized shades.
All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Like button, subscribe, comment. We appreciate it. It's time for the Ace Hardware temperature check, where we check in on someone who's heating up or cooling off. The weather is certainly doing that, messing with us again. It's the Ace Hardware temperature check. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online for more.
Speaking of the cooling off temperature-wise, I was talking to my buddy Blake Murphy and Matt Bonner, former NBA player, this morning in Toronto, and Matt Bonner apparently got fooled by a warm March. They got hit with snow in Toronto today.
Really?
So that was.
It
could always be worse, Philadelphia.
I guess I'm not complaining anymore.
Temperature check for Toronto, cold
with snow. Yeah, not great. All right, let's check in on Ace Hardware temperature check. Is the head coach's seat hotter now? 9 games.
I would say it's warm at the very least.
9 games over 500. Things looked a little okay. Get top 6, maybe even 7. You're good. Now they're in contention where they can be all the way at 10. So you feel like it's a little bit warmer now for the head coach.
I would ask you this. What is the minimum threshold of success for Nurse to keep his job?
Got to get to the second round and make him competitive.
Second round at least. And I do think what the series looks like certainly matters.
Yep. So I think the second round is what's required for him to be confident in keeping his job. I'm not saying there's no chance if they lose in the first round, he could be back.
Yeah, I think the issue for him is a multitude of things. One, I think public sentiment is really against him at this point. I think if they bring the same roster, same power structure back next year, I think that the organization will hear from the public that they are not too pleased with that. So that's number one. Number two, I think the other problem, and this is more important than getting into a public perception battle, is the problems have been the problems for most of 2 years now that they went through last year. And I think at least last season, because you didn't know the extent to which the Joel knee issue was an issue, that he wouldn't recover quicker, not having a great plan B with Joel out is a little more understandable. You build the team around Joel, you've signed him to an extension. It's like, okay, this is the Joel show and everything else is a little bit secondary. When you go through that and you come back this year, you say, all right, we got to really rethink some things. We got to think about how is our offense going to run? How do I build this around Tyrese and VJ? What does the defense look like as we become a smaller team, built more around guards, which included Jared McCain at the start of the season, like a 4-guard group that you were going to play a lot of minutes. How do we change this team? And despite the fact that they succeeded early, it really didn't amount to much in terms of structural shifting. And then as the season wears on, it just looks very familiar, right? It's a lot of games where when Joel's healthy, if Joel's good enough, great, you got a chance to win. If he's not, you're probably going to lose. When Joel's out, Tyrese Maxey, I hope you're absolutely shooting the lights out and killing people in isolation because there is not a ton of off-ball movement. There is plenty of gambling and overhelping on defense. And Derek already brought it up. The record against good teams tells a story. They have been very good against the bad teams and not very good against the good teams. And I think the reason that you go and get Nick Nurse, that you move on from Doc Rivers, is because you didn't care as much about the ability to beat bad teams. You wanted someone who was going to help you against those, pseudo contenders, actual contenders. This guy can be a difference maker. And I don't think that you've seen that. And so you're also at a place now too, you might be moving on to a new era. I don't know if it's next year, but having drafted VJ, Tyrese making the ascent that he's made, I'm not saying you're ready to win with those two, but maybe organizationally you're ready to say, it's time to start shifting the window into the future. Is Nurse the guy that you want leading that? I don't know. I would say probably not. So I think if they don't make the second round and at least play a really competitive series, there are going to be a lot of people on notice this summer, is my estimation.
So here's my counter argument to that. And I've got about 50 million reasons why it might not play out that way. And, there is on the one hand, is Daryl going to push for a coaching change if everyone's going to look at it and say, well, why do you get the right to hire a 2.5 coach? Really a second coach, because he didn't hire Doc in a weird twist of circumstances that only Sixers can engineer. And is Harris going to look at it and go, well, clearly this is a big enough problem. Even though my coach isn't pushing for it, I've got to make this change when so much money is owed to those two people. Now, look, to Harris's credit, and this is very rare that I do this, he has fired coaches before who have multiple years left on their contract. He has been willing to make that move. So I'm not saying it's completely improbable. Where I wonder is, because Daryl also has multiple years left, would Josh be willing to replace both of them? And if not, would he be willing to give Daryl the right to hire another coach when this one has flamed out so quickly? I don't know. And I hope that I would love to live in a world where money is never a consideration in these decisions. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think history has shown it. Like I said, I want to keep an open mind because Josh has paid coaches to go away before, but a coach and a GM would be tough, and having the GM hire another coach when this one didn't work out would also be tough. So I do wonder whether that will factor in.
I agree with you that I think that, to the question of how far, second round. And if they're competitive, he might be safe. But they have to be competitive. They really have to give themselves a chance that you believe that they could have won that series at the end that they ultimately lost. As far as paying the coaches, he's no longer paying Rivers. That's not there anymore. So I would believe that that's something that they would consider doing, because guess what? When the fan sentiment starts to really go, and they already start having things out there for season ticket sales, and those phone calls start to come in and it's not working, guess what? That also plays a big part in it too.
100%.
So we'll see how it goes. That's the Ace Hardware Temperature Check, presented by Ace Hardware Home Services. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. When we come back, we'll let you know what you need to watch tonight. And tomorrow, since we're off, we'll let you know the games that are important for the Sixers tomorrow. Also, the news and notes portion of the show with roll call a little bit later. It's the PHLY Sixers podcast. Don't go anywhere. Final segment on this Tuesday.
The nonstop excitement of Team Boxing League returns to Philly on Saturday, April 11th. Philly Smoke is back at it against the Las Vegas Hustle on Saturday, April 11th at Harrah's Philadelphia Casino in Chester. Both teams 1-0 to start the season. They both look unbeatable. You have to look unbeatable if you're undefeated by definition. Go to teamboxingleague.com to buy tickets now. Can't let those stinking Las Vegas Hustle come here and take over the town. If you haven't watched team boxing, you won't be disappointed. 16 fighters on each team, all weight classes, men, women, nonstop action. Team Boxing League, where every round is the last round. Go to teamboxingleague.com now and get your tickets while you still can. The Las Vegas Hustle visits your Philly Smoke live at Harrah's Philadelphia Casino on Saturday, April 11th. The fists start flying at 7 p.m. You got to be there.
All right, if you're dealing with maybe chronic pain or just picked up a new injury, don't toughen it out, everybody. Don't be that strong person that we know you are. Go get it checked out. Go to the experts at Rothman Orthopedics. These are the same specialists, trusted across the region to treat everything from joint pain and back issues to sports injuries and fractures as well. The easiest way to get started, visiting rothmanortho.com/PHLY. Schedule your appointment today. And with Rothman, they have a fast scheduler where you can connect with the VIP scheduling specialist for your specific issue, saving time and getting you on the path back to recovery. And don't forget about Rothman Now, a convenient way to access expert virtual orthopedic care when you need answers promptly. Stop living with pain. Don't be a hero. Go to rothmanortho.com/PHLY and book with Rothman Orthopedics today. We're back. Final segment, PHLY Sixers podcast on a Tuesday. Hit the like button, like and subscribe. We appreciate it as always. Make sure you go check out the great stories from Kyle and Derek on the Sixers as we gear up for the postseason, however long that postseason run may be. You know what? Let's talk about the stretch, since we just heard from Rothman there. And with that, we can talk about a certain individual in the stretch. Presented by Rothman. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY. The stretch of the games that are remaining for the 76ers are off tonight. Thursday at Houston, 8 o'clock start time. Friday, back-to-back in Indianapolis to take on the who knows who's playing in that
mighty
game.
Indiana Pacers.
Who knows who's playing? Yeah. I saw Potter had a double-double. I think he almost had a triple-double the other day. So that's a game. So back-to-back. So let's start there with the stretch with those two, Kyle, because as I mentioned a little bit earlier when we were discussing the games that are upcoming, Joel Embiid, who had a really good game last night, but people were still ticked off at him because defensively he didn't do enough to slow things down there. But he has not and does not play in back-to-backs. Does this call for, hey, you might need to play in both of these games, or do they just generally go with what they normally do?
Well, I would hope that they don't actually need him to beat the Indiana Pacers. And so when Derek brought up their record against good teams or above 500 teams earlier, I think part of that he mentioned was a lot of the early season games, the two veteran stars were sitting in the tougher matchups and then securing the closer to guaranteed win playing in the second half or first half, however it worked out on back-to-backs. To me, this is a very clear Joel has to play against Houston. Like they can figure out the Indiana thing later because it should be enough between Maxey, VJ, PG, and everybody else to go beat that team. Joel has to be in the game against the Houston Rockets because he is critical to trying to beat them, right? They have a lot of big, athletic, switchable guys. Those are the types of teams and matchups that we've seen Maxey specifically struggle against this year. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have Joel to break up the 1 through 4, at least switching, if not 1 through 5 at times, that's going to be really problematic for a version of Maxey that frankly has not played all that well this week and has certainly not played well against the Houstons, the Detroits, the teams that play these kind of guys throughout the rotation. So I need Joel on the floor for however many minutes they need him to play against Houston and figure out the rest later. I think if it was up to him, he would probably play all 3 of these games, but it does seem that he has positioned it so that it's the team is telling me I can't play in these second ones. That's what he's saying to all of you and to all of us publicly. So I'd still be pretty surprised if they allowed him to play in both of these in the back-to-back.
Yeah, I'm generally speaking, and I said this like last week, I wouldn't change your approach to handling Joel Embiid's health and knee at the last second, at the 25th hour. But man, you're really like, what's better for his knee? Playing 2 games in a row, 2 nights in a row, and having a week off, or not playing and having to play right through up until the playoffs? I think you can make the argument, and look, I'm not a doctor. I don't really know the wear and tear and the stress and the risk associated with a back-to-back. We kind of just talk based off or form our opinions based off of who we talk to. You need both of these games. You need all three of these games. I would strongly consider it. Then again, you also don't know if you do ask him to play that back-to-back, what version of Joel Embiid are you getting in that second game? Maybe you play him like 25 minutes per night in each game. I don't know. You're trying to thread a needle here, and any direction could end up leading to chaos. I do agree with Kyle. If you want to beat the Rockets, you need him in there. And they are a tough team regardless. Like they're going to, I think they're the number one offensive rebounding team in the league. They're going to crash the glass. Putting a Dembona out there might be tough because that's not really his strong suit. Then again, playing basketball isn't really Andre's strong suit. So I'm not sure what you're going to do with that backup center. I certainly don't want 48 minutes of that Bona and Drummond combo. So yeah, I think you need to play him if you want a chance.
Final game of the season. That's on Sunday, where Giannis plays with his brothers against the Sixers and ruins everything. That's going to be
it. Really does feel like the inevitable outcome is the league steps in and it's like, no, you can't hold Giannis out, and he plays one final game of the season.
It drops 50.
Are we going to talk about that story that dropped today, by the way, about Giannis in our news and notes section? Because, boy, our friend Glenn sure thinks a lot of himself.
That was,
unbelievable.
Yeah, so the season finale at home on Sunday. That is part of the stretch. I'd imagine that if Joel doesn't play in both of the games back-to-back Thursday, Friday, he is absolutely playing in that final game because who knows where they'll be in the standings. They're going to need him to play. And if they do have to play-in starts on Tuesday and Wednesday. Those are the two nights that the play-in games are played. And they have to figure all that stuff out then of the scheduling, who plays where, who's 7-8, and host the other 9-10 matchups after things are done. So, it's the stretch. Boy, did it really come down to the stretch, the final 3 games of the season for the 76ers to figure out where they're going to be. Make sure you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more if you need to get checked out so you can be active and out there playing in back-to-backs like not Joel Embiid. All right. Let's get to some news and notes.
All righty.
Yes, let's get to some news and notes. We'll get to the Giannis thing last so we can have some more time to talk about it. But first, Bree, you picked the first one since they are too basketball related. Who saw this coming?
This was a stunner.
Who saw this coming? Mike Malone rumored that if things didn't happen where Derek got Jamal Mosley fired in Orlando, that Mike Malone would be the candidate to take over the Orlando Magic. I did not expect this one. Mike Malone named the head coach, and it confirmed today that he is named the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels men's basketball program. The reports are out there that he has a 6-year deal, and the number is right around 8.3 per year on a 6-year deal.
Good money if you can get it.
To coach the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Well,
not that shocking after you hear the money.
No, it's good money if you can get it, but it's also good job security if you can get it. And that's always the thing with college.
I also learned, I think it came out that his daughter plays volleyball at UNC, so that probably adds to the attractiveness of the job for him. You get to, see your kid, hang out with your kid, go to her games and whatnot.
I also wonder, too, just because of all the movement that's been going on where you have general managers now in college basketball, college sports.
It's closer to a pro environment.
Right. And then also, look, whatever jokes we have about what happened with Bill Belichick going to North Carolina, I'm sure some conversations were just simply had of what this might look like going into a situation like that. Maybe Michael Jordan, all of that with the UNC program, with the way things have turned out for them, that they need to get back on track. And boy, but I didn't see this.
No.
Because New Orleans, Orlando, those are some names that you heard, some teams that you heard that he may have been able to, at least interview or be the front runner for those jobs.
And there were rumors out there that Billy Donovan was a guy that UNC was pursuing relatively aggressively. And that one makes a ton of sense on paper. He was a hugely successful college coach. Maybe he just wants to be done with the whole Chicago Bulls experience. You go to a place where they're going to give you a ton of money and resources. It's a program with a lot of history. Mike Malone was not even on my radar to take a college job for all the reasons that you laid out. I do think he probably has the personality to be a college guy. I think part of why he flamed out in Denver was a little bit of the like fiery personality type stuff, which is not to say that if you're a screamer, you can be a good college coach, but I think there's more tolerance for that at that level. And so maybe with him as a more powerful figure there, he can, lean into that a bit more and get the most out. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll play out, but interesting for sure.
No, I mean, I think the combination of the fact that you're dealing with kids rather than players making $50 million a year, and you only have to deal with them for 2 to 3 years rather than longer term, that kind of a style does definitely
or a year. Because the way the movement is, where they're in and out of these programs now, he's used to free agency, but he's also used to having his stars stay put for an extended period of time. So I'm very curious to see how this does work and what his staff looks like, because it's always interesting when you see a pro coach make a move like this. How are they going to, with the recruiting and all of that stuff? Sure, you can go into a home and say, I've won a championship. I've coached the best of the best. But
look
this
up
is
my resume.
different. Yes, look at the
Google
resume.
me.
Google me. We'll get to that one here shortly. A little fun one. Shaquille O'Neal has this very interesting thing that he is doing. I don't know if you guys saw this, but me and Bree thought this one was interesting. Shaq is now teaming up with, I think it's TNT. So kind of getting back there with TNT. Getting ready for the Dunk Man League, where this is now about having a slam dunk contest where the best of the best non-pro out there and seeing who's the best dunker in the world. There's a prize for it, of course. There are going to be certain levels.
Is it going to be like a series?
It's going to be a series of like.
So will it be like 1v1 and then you advance? Like I need to know some more details. In theory, I could. It might be something I just watched the highlights of, which shows how much Gen Z's influence is creeping in on me here. But
yeah. Well, I was going to say, this might not be for me, but I hope it works out, if for no other reason than to give the NBA the blueprint on how they should conduct their own dunk contest.
Or do they maybe team up with Shaq because the others won't, the pros may not want to do it, where you just simply, okay, cool. This is our slam dunk contest for the All-Star weekend. Because if people see this more through whatever tournament type of format that they have, and it's exciting, that maybe that will be something that they can pull off because they're trying everything else.
And maybe it's a smaller scale version of what's the 3v3 women's league, Unrivaled.
Yeah.
With the success that they had with that, I think that put pressure on the WNBA. This is a little smaller scale where it's the dunk contest and not like a competitive league. But if they can put a little bit of pressure to improve the dunk contest in any way at All-Star Weekend, I think that'll be a net good for fans. So at worst, it comes and goes and has no impact. At best, I think it can lead to some better things for the NBA.
24 of the best dunkers competing live in a brand new league format for a grand prize of $500,000.
As AA Ron mentions, the 10-finger flush league.
Oh, Jesus. We're not doing this.
All right, so we're not going to pull up the graphic on this one, but the ESPN story. First, before we get into the ESPN story overall, we are off tomorrow, everybody. We're off day on Wednesday. We are back on Thursday at 7:30 for 8 o'clock tip. Sixers Rockets, massive game yet again for your home team. We're heading over to overtime right now, allphly.com. Thank you on the television side. We will see you on Thursday, 7:30, Sixers Rockets pregame here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. All right, so the ESPN story with Doc Rivers, the Bucks, Giannis, this whole weird dynamic that's going on. And the story is in there that there were six people told in the story.
6 people who were at this meeting.
That said, as they were figuring out, hey, are we going to have our best foot forward to try to make the play in, get in, make some noise? Doc Rivers in the meeting says, go look at my resume. Go check, Google me. Yes.
I'll give you the exact quote. He said, I took teams to the playoffs and to the championship that weren't supposed to. I do want to revisit that. I thought this was one of them. Either you're with us or against us. If you're not playing hard, we're not playing you anymore. I know everything that goes on in this building. And then Doc went on to show clips of Kyle Kuzma from recent games And later that day, Kuzma was a DNP coach's decision, which was the first of his career.
But it was also in that story, too, where it was talked about Ryan Hollins and Kevin Porter for their selfish play was called out for that. And Kuzma allegedly stood up for his teammates. Hence DNP also with the clip and that. Just some wild stuff going on in the Bucks locker room overall, right, Derek? Wasn't he supposed to come in after Adrian Griffin and fix this thing?
Reminds me of
Wouldn't wish that on anyone, right there.
Remember when he came in and they got the top seed in the Eastern Conference? Man. He's like, nobody expected us to do this. We were a first round exit last year. And it's like, you were first round exit.
The first round exit thing drove me crazy the whole time he was here.
So he loves to pump up his resume, even taking some creative liberties with what has happened. No, I mean, look, it's this whole thing. First of all, the fact that Giannis is still on that team is a disservice, I think, to everyone. Like, one of the things that Shams,
yeah, but again, it's on him. So
yeah, that's one where I put some responsibility on.
Yeah,
Giannis.
He's got to take some of that.
No, I think everybody takes responsibility for that. Like, and it was mentioned in the article, like, you can't have a functional team when your star has his foot out the door. But he's had his foot out the door for 12 months now, and you're just letting the situation fester and fester and fester while employing a coach who doesn't necessarily have a great job of keeping the locker room together either. The whole thing is just a complete disaster.
So I want to revisit the quote, I took teams to the playoffs and the championship that weren't supposed to. I think the playoffs one, you could point to one of those early Magic teams that he had. And that might be fair, right? With Daryl Armstrong and some of those guys where they're either hurt or whatever's going on.
You're also talking about 20 years ago.
Which team did you take to the championship? Which is to say, you had one championship team, and we'll never take that away from them. Congratulations on 2008. The second that the Celtics made those trades, people were like, oh my God, they've ruined basketball and they've ruined the league. I can't believe these guys are conspiring to play together and painting it as if like, oh my God, nobody believed in that team is so ahistorical that I can't get over that. Maybe he's trying to refer to 2010 could be it, where they got there and they lost to the Lakers and they lose in 7. Mm-hmm. Kendrick Perkins was hurt very famously and it still goes down to the wire. Yep. Yeah, maybe he's trying to say that. And if you hear him out on that, maybe we could get there.
You got to squint a little bit.
Because that was LeBron is at his athletic apex and everyone's expecting him to go. The Magic came off their finals run the year before when KG was hurt, and they kind of tuckered out. Maybe that's it. But if his suggestion is that nobody believed that the 2008 Celtics were going to be a championship team, I would love for you to go back and read the press clippings and the quotes, and probably your own quotes, the second that those deals were made, because I remember a very different 2007, 2008 than he does.
And by the way, this is perfect too, because I saw something on social media. I think it was yesterday, as a matter of fact, where all of those guys were together, sitting together on the panel, doing whatever kind of conversation they were having. And the comment was, has anybody ever milked the championship more than that Boston Celtics team? No. The way that they do, and going out there and talk about that title. So can't take it away from them, won't take it away from them, but goodness gracious, man. And especially with Doc Rivers, the way things are turning out. And he left the cushiness of the TV to go take that job.
Yes.
His friend Adrian Griffin, where he talked about it was a difficult thing to take over. By the way, the record was phenomenal when they let go. That's why.
Now there's some real behind the scenes bad vibes, whatever. I get it, but
he was just doing a public service because he wouldn't wish that job on anyone.
Wouldn't wish it on anybody. And there's that.
I think the flip side too of I took teams to the playoffs and championship that weren't supposed to. You also took some teams that were supposed to be there and go and win championships to complete ruin and destroyed the locker room to the point that guys are like, the Sixers are a great example, right? If you get the one seed, you get the 1 seed, the nobody believed in us thing is out the window. Now there are expectations. You went and stuck Danny Green on Trae Young to get cooked in game 1 and gave a game away, collapsed in game 5. And then after it all ends and people point their fingers at you, it's like, well, Ben, that fucking asshole, like, what was he doing out there? And that's been his deal all over. And he loves to do the, like, what if those guys won without? I don't know, but you should have won with those guys. He just drives me completely crazy. And I do like him as a guy. Like when you get to talk to him on the side, good enough dude, like very personable, blah, blah, and you see how people fall for the whole, you get him in a room with a billionaire owner, how Doc could be like, hey, I'm the guy to come in here and make this thing happen. But then you look at the track record and the excuse making. And the thing that boggles my mind to this day is that when they fired Brett, the amount of people in this city who were like, now they got some accountability in the building. When that's like, of the list of things Doc Rivers brings to the table, I'm not sure accountability is in the top 200.
And when they let go of Brown, I was good with it. I was fine. I thought, fine, it's time to make a change.
Yeah.
You take him as far. I was never a Doc Rivers fan, but I understood when he was available why you go and talk to him at that time. You do. You don't. You talk to him. He is who he is. He did what he did in Boston. He did what he did in Los Angeles. You talk to him. So I understood why they hired him when they did. But getting him out in 3 years, you also understood why he was gone after 3 years.
Yes.
And the number one seed, all of that stuff. I never had a problem really what he said about Simmons and the whole, is he a point guard?
I do think it's a little overblown. I get why Simmons took it that way, but I also think it was like,
he was like, he didn't do it yet, so no. I don't know yet. He didn't say
it's
no.
Like he's like, Ben sucks.
Yeah, he said, I don't know.
But it was such an easy controversy to avoid. Like, as a professional, you're supposed to avoid that controversy.
And he's a guy who has been around long enough, should be savvy enough, but I still had no problem because all he said was, I don't know. Which is not wrong because he didn't do it yet.
But you don't, like, as a media member, do I like it when people are honest? Yes. If I was running a team, would I want Doc to be honest in that situation? No, you don't do that.
Yeah, to your point, Derek, I think the failing there is not that he was wrong. It's that when your star player just mentally collapsed on the floor in Game 7, is not the time to be opening the door to more criticism.
That part you're
it's
right.
to stand behind your guy and say, of course I believe in Ben. We stand behind blah, 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 blah. And that was also, the other part of it is, he spent that whole year gaslighting everybody. Everything you guys think is a problem with Ben isn't a problem. I'm focused on X, Y, Z.
What, do you want me to sit Ben down the stretch? And then a week later,
then, of
he's
course,
sitting
he
Ben
does
down
that
the
exact
stretch.
thing. So
you don't know basketball.
If he hadn't done all that, again, I still think you stand behind your guy in a public setting.
Yeah.
But if he hadn't done all that, it would have taken some of the sting out of it. For him to tell Ben publicly, privately the whole year, I'm fine with what you're doing. And then in the biggest collapse of Ben's career, he's like, there's the bus. Get under there, buddy. Like that's a really tough look.
And for all of us on the outside, no matter what locker rooms we are in, he's supposed to know him better. So you massage that however you massage it in that moment and talk to him behind the scenes and say whatever you need to say.
And to your point about he's the accountability guy, they made the same argument when they brought in Colangelo, and we saw how quickly guy would throw people under the bus. And then back over them, and roll over them again.
Flashback Tuesday, everybody. Flashback Tuesday. All because Doc Rivers said, Google me. Like my
Such
man
a funny
Mike
thing,
Miss
right?
said famously a few years back.
First of all, Kyle Kuzma is probably asking ChatGPT. So that's the wrong guy to say, Google me. I don't know that he's used Google.
Check my resume. I just got in the Hall of Fame. Come on now.
Kyle Kuzma at his locker. Hey, Claude, what is Doc Rivers' resume?
Who knew we would go down this timeline for the Sixers and just watching the Bucks flame out. And again, Giannis, just make a decision at this point. We're sick of it.
I mean, it sounds like he's made his decision. He just doesn't have the conviction to carry through with it and be the bad guy.
I'm tired.
Dude, you won a championship. You could have done this, like you said, 2 years ago, and everybody would have been fine with it.
You are making your legacy worse by dragging this on.
Yeah.
I talked with a media member about the Giannis thing at the game on Saturday.
Sick of it.
And his whole point was at this point, like, it's a very easy conversation. Giannis, we're going to explore trades. One day you're going to come back. We're going to retire your jersey. We're going to build a statue. We're going to do the whole thing. Like, nothing about this will turn you into a villain. You won a championship. You won an MVP here. Like, you are the ultimate success story for a team. There is no reason for us to, muddy the waters and muddy your legacy. Like, we're not going to do that. But for everyone's sake, we all need to move on. To me, I think that's a very easy go to him at the end of and before he goes to the media and is like, boy, these MFers won't let me play. Like, just talk to one another. I don't think that's that big of an ask.
No.
Anyway, that's a lot of Bucks and Giannis talk.
How about that? Look at that. Look how versatile we are. We can talk about that too. Not a playoff team, not a championship team, but go check my resume. Glenn said that too.
Shout out to Glenn.
Shout out to Glenn. We'll see if Giannis plays.
Mr. Hall of Fame.
I mean,
nobody believed he'd get 15, to the Hall of Fame.
Top 15.
That one might be true. I don't think if he retired as a player, people were
he wasn't a Hall of Fame player.
He's getting in the Hall of Fame.
He's a good player, but not a Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Top 15 coach all time. There's that.
All right. Take it away from him.
Cannot take it away from him. Let's get to the world famous as we close down things on this Tuesday. Big week. Games. Final games of the year. 3 games. Roll call.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to Mom's grandchildren, to Nvader90, to Yosef.
What up, Yosef?
Reek Gotti, SM Scott. You better love somebody.
Love somebody. Love somebody.
Jazz Graham, Fuzzy 007. Not to be confused with Bald 007. Hello to Fuzzy.
What up,
Thanks
Fuzz?
for being here.
Don't call it Fuzz.
MVP, but the M is spelled like Embiid's name. It's a Joel fan hanging out with us today. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Yams, to Mellow 3-Point, Bill Berry Fiends, Eden the Remix, Bowies, I think that says. I hope I didn't get typoed on that one.
Bowies.
Hello to Bowies. Hello to Brian Knight, Kyle Wright,
Boweezy.
JDub215, Greeny Green, Cenobite Mare, Jess, Val, my girl Nona.
Hey, ladies.
Jack Reacher, Philly fan, Mark Jackson, Hedfa, Kyle P., D Flyers, Eugene Ross, Aaron, Jay of the Jungle.
What up, Jay?
And today's number 1 name of the day, and that is Korean chicken. Korean chicken. Thank you for being here. We love some Korean chicken around here.
We do like the Korean
Not
chicken.
that far from Chinatown where we're at.
We do need to show the games too real fast.
Do we?
Cool with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's show the games, Bree. The games to watch tonight, just quickly.
Oh, we're on Scoreboard Watch tonight.
Scoreboard Watch tonight and Scoreboard Watch tomorrow on April 7th. We have tonight, 7:30, the Heat and the Raptors in Toronto. And then at 8 o'clock, it's the Hornets and the Celtics in Boston.
The mighty Celtics.
Look at that. Bree is fantastic. And then tomorrow on our day off, the Hawks, who lost to the Knicks last night, they have the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then the Timberwolves, who Anthony Edwards may be out again. Orlando's playing a little bit better. And in 3-way tie with the Sixers right now. These games are very important, these 4 games tonight and tomorrow.
Keep an eye on those. Shout out to Vic as well, who says they've been lurking.
Yes.
Hello to Vic. Hello to all of you who are just lurking and not commenting. Good to hang out with you all on a Tuesday, as Eugene says, that Korean fried chicken goes crazy in all caps, exclamation points. My brother, I hear you and I feel you on that one. Guys, on the way out, if you could, hit the thumbs up button on this video. It makes a gigantic difference for this show and this whole company. Every single time you sit and watch a video and hit the thumbs up button, it makes a difference for all of us. It also says thank you to super producer Bree, the other member of our team, the most important member of our team. So say thank you to Bree with a thumbs up, and also hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. We are off on Wednesday. We will be back for a massive Sixers-Rockets meeting on Thursday. We'll have you for pregame, postgame, hoping to talk about a Sixers win and a big-time performance when they really need it. Until then, stay safe, take care of one another. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.